And let me just correct the record because I just came back from Russia. And Russia will never accept a freeze. This is a White House fantasy, a wet dream. It's the Wall Street Journal. Everybody else repeats it. Russia has made it clear, 100% clear, that there will be no freeze, that for this war to end, Ukraine must leave all of Russian territory. And from a Russian perspective, that's totality of Kherson, so the totality of Zaporizhia, the totality of Donetsk, and the totality of Lugansk. No ifs, ands, or buts. And let's just make this even more clear to your American audience, or even your Western audience. You know, in the United States, I'm somebody who took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. That's it. That's all America's about. We're a constitutional republic, and if you remove the Constitution, we're nothing. We don't exist as the United States. So we take the Constitution seriously. Why can't we respect the fact that the Russians take their Constitution seriously? And because there were constitutionally viable, from the Russian perspective, referendum in Kherson, Zaporizhia, Lugansk, and Donetsk in September of 2022, Russia absorbed these territories into the Russian land. It's part of Russia. Vladimir Putin cannot, is incapable of giving up Russian territory as part of any deal. Constitutionally, it can't be done. He's not a dictator. You know, he is the president. He is bound by the Constitution. So I don't know why people continue to repeat this absolute dreck, this absolute nonsense. Russia will never give up its territory, ever, in a million years. It will never happen. And anybody who doubts the Russian resolve, gosh, maybe go count the number of dead that the Soviet Union suffered during the Second World War and understand that Russia will never back down and Russia will never lose. The other thing I need to point out is this notion that Russia's paying a price. The kill ratio, according to a State Department person who has just left the State Department, is 36-1. That's 36 dead Ukrainians for every dead Russian. All right. It's an absolute, again, fantasy that Russia's losing more people than the Ukrainians, or Russia's suffering unsustainable losses. The Russians are suffering, heavy losses. This is a modern high-intensity conflict. 36-1 kill ratio is unheard of in modern war, which means Russia is sort of dominating this battlefield. Scott, the lines haven't moved. Lines aren't meant to move. A war of attrition, and remember, Russia's not just facing the Ukrainians, they're facing the collective West. This isn't just about killing Ukrainian soldiers. This is about draining the economic and military resources of NATO and the United States, which Russia has successfully done. You can't say that Russia's run out of equipment and say that Russian defense industry is outproducing the NATO collective 4-1 in the same breath. And yet that's what people are doing. Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, says Russia's outproducing us 4-1. And yet in the same breath, Ukraine's draining Russia of all its military capacity. No, they're not. Ukraine's losing this war, every aspect of this war. It's just a war.
I want to go back.
Go ahead.
I want to go back to the Tomahawk missiles. You said they're nuclear capable. That's why it's a massive red line for Russia. Now, Russia has set many red lines throughout this war as the West, as NATO supports Ukraine further and further. Why do you think Tomahawks are a serious red line, more serious than previous red lines that were crossed? Because you've got the Storm Shadows. As far as I understand, aren't they nuclear capable as well to some capacity?
No, the Storm Shadow and the Scalp missile are not nuclear capable.
So the Tomahawk would be the first nuclear capable missile that Ukraine would have access to if the US supplied it. Okay. And that's why you think that will be the biggest red line. How does it compare to the to Ukraine's capabilities now with the what is their homegrown missile called again? I keep forgetting the
Flamingo.
Flamingo, yeah. What are your thoughts on the Flamingo?
It's a piece of crap. It's a propaganda exercise, just like the rest of the Ukrainian military. Yeah, you can blow up a refinery. Most of the weapons that are striking refineries are older wooden drones that are designed by the British to evade modern air defense systems. If you know anything about air defense radars, they're sensitive. You can't make them oversensitive, or else every time a flock of birds flies by, you get a blip going, oh, we're under attack. And so they're deliberately dumbed down to avoid being, activated by flocks of birds. That means that speed, density, radar signature, these things are tuned in. So what the British have helped the Ukrainians do is design a drone that flies at the speed of a flock of birds, made out of wood so that its radar signature mimics that of a flock of birds. And they're having good success. Russia's adapting to it. And sooner or later, Russia will come up with a solution that eliminates this threat. But the Flamingo has a radar signature and an infrared signature that screams anything but a flock of birds. And it will be shot down literally every time it's fired at Russia. It's a propaganda exercise.